thanks for joining me today, and welcome to the sandwich generation, where you and I are stuck here in the middle between our kids and grandkids and our parents and grandparents, and we're just trying to make it okay for everybody. You know what's going on with your loved one. You can see them declining. You can see them falling. You can see them not eating, and you know it's time for senior living. You know that they need that little extra bit of support, but they have dug in their heels and they are flat out not going. And it's hard to figure out how to get them out of the house without having to wait for an emergency of, them falling and breaking a hip, and now it is in your control and you are in the driver's seat. That, again, we've talked about that on so many videos. Waiting for something awful to happen is just a terrible idea. So let's talk about ways that we can ease them in as opposed to waiting for that disaster to happen. When you're talking about letting them still feel in control, that means changing the wording of things a little bit. You are actively out there looking for senior options for them, and you are hopefully touring places and talking to people on the phone to get a sense of what's out there, and that is very important homework for you to do for them. But when you present it to them, you want to talk about how you're helping them plan for the future. See how you're helping them? That is their control. You're not pushing it on them. You're not saying, here's where you're going. You're saying, here's some options I found that can help us out of this situation we're in. Because like we've talked about in a lot of videos, you wouldn't be looking for senior living if everything was okay. That's just not how it works. So when you're talking to them about these things, think about it like that. You want to come out of a place of love and concern. And I know that if you're looking for senior living and you are stuck in this sandwich generation with me here, you are probably at your wit's end. And you probably really just want to do pick up mama and drop her over here because that's what she needs, and you're so tired of the fight. You're so tired of fighting over, have you eaten today, or have you taken your medicine, or the fight of getting them to take a shower, because that happens where they decide they don't want to anymore. And so, when you think of that fight, think about a way to diffuse it. Come to them out of a place of love and concern. Tell them how you're really feeling. And those feelings, again, tied to love and concern, not the feeling of you're driving me crazy, because let's face it, that is a real feeling too. I don't want to lose you, especially finding you on the floor in your house someday. I don't want that to happen. And so look here, I have found some options, and I know it's hard to talk about, but we have to talk about them. And so let's just do it gently and let's ease into it. Those are things that you can say to them. And yeah, they're probably still going to get upset, especially if it's the first time you've talked to them, but that's okay. So one of the next steps is back off. And you can't back off forever, but if they really just, and they're digging in their heels and they are not going anywhere and they get really upset, back off just for a little bit. And that doesn't mean back off of your search. You do all of that in the background while you're backing off in front of your parents, because sometimes you just need that little breathing space to reset. Another thing you can do is enlist help from other people. If they have a best friend that you've known your whole life, talk to them about it and tell them how worried and concerned you are, and see if they will just have a little gentle chat with them. Sometimes it's easier to hear those things from a peer, from a friend, than it is from your child who you still remember as a 4-year-old. And so that's a good way around it. You can talk to the ministers at their church, anyone they're close to. You can talk to their doctor before you go see the doctor and say, look, these are the experiences we're having at home. It's unsettling. It's not safe. Please help me talk to her about this. Enlist other people's help. And then whenever you circle back around and you start talking about it again, talk to them about how they need your help so much and how stressed it is making you, how you are up at night worried about them, how it's making you ill because you're having to run everywhere around doing all these things and you're worried about them every minute of the day. And mama, as much as I love you and as much as I want to bring your meals every single day, I just can't. Come to them from that place where it's hurting you, because most mamas don't want to see their babies hurting. And if you come from that sort of place, that could also trigger them into thinking, okay, let's think about this. Let's talk about this. Some loved ones that are so ridiculously stubborn. Let's suppose this is your Aunt Ethel, and she's lived in her own house for 55 years. She doesn't have any kids. Her husband's been dead for 30 years. This chick is on her own. She is used to being independent with that capital I. And so how are you going to break through that barrier? Well, one of the ways you can do it, and this sounds horrible, but maybe one of the ways you do it is stop giving so much of that care that they need. Think about how many years you've been dropping off food at the house. How many months have you been going over there 3 times a day to make sure they take their medicine right? How many weeks have you been helping them with a shower because they won't take one unless you're there? It's always a big fight, but you know it has to be done. Sometimes you get to the point where you have to pretend to leave. Of course, you're going to be watching them like a hawk from afar. Of course, you're going to make sure nothing hideous happens. But if they could get a day or 3 where they could have to put on their own clothes because you are unexpectedly unavailable for some reason, that could help. If they have to fend for themselves with food or for medicine or whatever fill in the blank thing because all of a sudden you've got an emergency out of town, and so I'm so sorry, Mama, I'll be back in a little while. That's the way to do that. That's another way that they could wake up and on their own figure out how much help they need. You probably don't understand how much you do to keep them maintained in that scenario they're in, until you step back and you realize, and you can take a breath and you can look around and go, oh my gosh, I spend the bulk of my time going back and forth and back and forth and back and forth over to Mama's house because I have to help her with every little thing. Is that really fair? Is it really fair for you to have to destroy your entire life to take care of someone who's not interested in getting help? And I know that they took care of us too. I know that. And you're not going to stop taking care of them just because they moved to senior living. But this crazy freight train that you're on that is going to go slamming off the track soon into a bridge somewhere, that's what we're talking about here. So I hope this helps you a little bit. I hope you'll take a deep breath and stop and think it through. Thanks for watching today. Give me a call if you need me.